Order. You want to have roll call?
Brown,
Down here.
Froz,
Froz here.
Copey, Leonard,
Leonard here.
Sanchez,
Sanchez here.
Allen,
Allen, present. Good morning.
Kenyon.
Here.
Your quorum.
Okay, so the first thing on the agenda is the approval of the minutes for July 21st.
Leonard so moves.
Mr. Brown seconds.
Sure.
Discussion. We ready to vote?
Brown,
Yes.
Froz,
Froz, yes.
Leonard,
Leonard, yes.
Sanchez,
Sanchez, yes.
Allen,
Allen, aye.
Kenyon.
Yes. They're so approved. There's no public comment that we see, right? So we'll talk for our partners from Steve Arnold from the Kane County Farm Bureau.
All right, if you can queue up the photos, I would appreciate it. While they're doing that, just a couple of things to report briefly. First of all, for the committee members that are here this morning, I gave you a flyer.
I can't hear you.
My apologies.
Oh, there we go. Thanks.
I gave the members who are present in person this morning a flyer. The Kane County Farm Bureau Foundation does an annual golf outing in cooperation with Buck Brothers and JW Turf, which are now AHW and Revels, but John Deere equipment dealers up in the Hampshire area. We do this golf outing. It's our only fundraiser for 2 college scholarships that we give out each year to students studying for agricultural careers in a 7-county area around Kane County. So if anybody's interested, it's a really fun golf outing. This is the 20th anniversary of this golf outing, and it is done in memory of John Buck, who was the founder of Buck Brothers and JW Turf John Deere dealers up in Hampshire area. if you turn your attention to the pictures behind you, I'm going to talk a little bit about an upcoming project. A project that is pollinator focused, and I think we all understand the importance of protecting pollinators. And I left the slide clicker over there with Matt, I think. My apologies. You want to go ahead and click that, Matt?
Ooh, extra responsibilities, Matt.
Okay, so on the hottest July day in 2020, at the height of a global pandemic, we had about 24 volunteers get together at the Kane County Farm Bureau on Randall Road in St. Charles and plant a pollinator rain garden. Next slide. This is some of the people that stayed around till the end to help us plant it. Next slide. Mr. Cayos, planting some, I know what that is, but it's not coming to me. I think you all can relate. Next slide.
Looks like a weed.
Mrs. Kenyon and Mr. Kenyon's granddaughter watering some swamp milkweed. And next slide. And that's the finished product, about a 350 square foot pollinator rain garden right along Randall Road. It drains it filters the water that drains off of our parking lot. It was planted partly as an environmental benefit, but it was also planted in recognition of the fact that the County of Kane approved a stormwater ordinance, I believe in 2018, that gave farmers the opportunity to install water quality best management practices in lieu of stormwater detention when they did improvements on farms. So it was done partly in recognition of that. And again, to filter the runoff from our parking lot. Next slide, please.
Prairie drop seed, I think. See,
Prairie drop seed, that is correct. Thank you very much. This
couldn't
is
find my mute button.
This is the rain garden as it looks today, and you can see some of that prairie drop seed and black-eyed Susans and purple cone flowers and little blue stem. However, with all things, you put something out there and somebody builds a better mousetrap. So Matt, will you go to the next slide? And this is the idea for the better mousetrap. We drain a lot of area off of that parking lot. The rain garden could be more substantial. And so our plan is to expand it from the current 350 feet to approximately 3,500 square feet. So by a factor of 10, and to actually do a little geography and topography as part of this educational experiment or enterprise. So if we put the proper topography in, you can see there that the Mississippi, the Rock, the Fox, the Illinois, the Des Plaines, the Kankakee, and the Kaskaskia rivers will all be featured. They will all be used to drain water through the pollinator rain garden. And they will also double as walking paths in the garden once it's expanded. So next slide, please. This is an elevation plan prepared by NCAP in order to help us accomplish that. And then I believe the next slide is actually kind of a repeat of the previous slide, Matt, if you want to go to that. Yeah, it is. Again, excuse me. So this is actually the planting plan. I did not put a list of the plants in, but they're all native plants, prairie plants, pollinator plants, and wetland species, depending on where they're at in the garden. There are approximately 820 plants in this plan. Another 50 to 150 that will be dug from the existing garden. So we're planning to put about 1,000 plants in. The next slide. Oops, I think we went backward. There we go. So this is some of our directors gathered before our last board meeting in front of the existing pollinator garden. And they're inviting you, they're telling you that this is coming summer 2022, barely in the summer, but we plan to get started on this project the week after next. So if you'll go to the next slide, INCAP will come in and do the dirt work, bring in the soil amendments. As we've been developing this plan, we have applied to several entities. I am happy to report that we got a ComEd Green Region grant through Open Lands of $10,000 to do this project. We also got $10,000 from the Kane County Farm Bureau Foundation and $9,000 from the Illinois Farm Bureau's Pollinator Conservation Grant Program. I think we were the biggest grant recipient in the state of funds from the Illinois Farm Bureau, and this is the first year that they have offered those specific for pollinators. We also have a number of local partners, including INCAP, which will be doing some in-kind services for us. I don't know whether the county of Kane will be contributing. I think it was part of last year's budget, but we did not get this planted in May as we had hoped. We're into September. The Conservation Foundation, Midwest Ground Covers, and Midwest Trading are all contributing. Next slide, please. This garden will be complete with interpretive signs. These are not the actual signs, but they're the same subject matter. These signs actually came from a pollinator exhibit that we did at Brookfield Zoo. But by putting interpretive signage in it, we hope to increase the educational value, get people to use the walking paths, see a little bit more of the garden. These incidentally were custom made by Ryan White of Caneville at about 1/5 the cost that they're available commercially. So if you need anything, or if the Forest Preserve District is looking for a manufacturer, I would highly recommend Mr. White. Next slide. Those who help us plant will get a pollinator habitat guide from the Illinois Farm Bureau. This is about a 32-page guide to help people install pollinator plants on agricultural landscapes. Next slide. Also get a Joe Dirt themed Life's a Garden Dig It Pollinator Garden t-shirt from the Kane County Farm Bureau. How many of you remember Joe Dirt? There's a reference lost on this crowd. All right, next slide, please. And again, please, Matt. Looks like I got an extra photo in it. So if it is something that is of interest to you, the Farm Bureau wants to invite you out to assist us in public planting on Thursday, September 1st and Friday, September 2nd, 9 to 5. The folks at INCAP will be there to assist us with the planting. Everything that's going in the ground will be gallon pots. And the last time that we did this, we were using plugs. So gallons are a little bit more labor intensive. We hope to have crews digging the holes and crews actually planting the plants. Again, the layout, the design is all established, so it will be well marked. We will have the river valleys in at that time, although we probably won't backfill them until after the planting is done. And then I believe the last slide is a copy of the Pollinator Partners memo. Oh, one, and maybe it didn't show. The Pollinator Partners memo that was provided to everybody who's here in person today. Again, telling a little bit of the background about the project and inviting the public in. That will be followed up. There will be a Facebook event post that goes public today. There will be information going on our website today. There will be news releases going out to area media, and we welcome and invite and welcome your participation. That's all I have on the rain garden. The only other thing that I want to inform the committee of is that farmer trustees of our organization have been meeting with other farmer trustees in other county farm bureaus, in every legislative district of the state of Illinois and every congressional district in the state of Illinois. Next month, we will have a complete list of activator friends of agriculture, incumbent legislators that the Farm Bureau is endorsing in the upcoming November races. So I hope to have a complete list of those for you at the September meeting. Thank you.
Is there any questions for Stephen?
Mr. Chairman, Strathland here.
Right, Cheryl?
Yes, good morning. I would love to get a copy of that pollinator sheet in my mailbox, as I'm not able to be there this morning. But I'd also like to let Stephen know that as a master gardener and a King County board member, I'd like to be there on Thursday and Friday, the 1st and 2nd.
Thank you very much. Noted, we've received emails from several master gardeners and master naturalists that will be joining us, whose names I cannot recall at the moment. Is it necessary for me to leave additional copies of this?
Oh, yes, I think.
Okay.
It'd be nice to have.
Okay, will do.
Cheryl is the only master gardener on the county board. So she can plant all
Thank you.
the gardens.
There you go. There you go. But I look
Any
forward
other-
to being a part of this. It sounds like a great project.
Any other questions? Before we go on, I'd like to mention that this is Michelle Gum's birthday. So we can, I see this stuff on the chart there. So,
Happy birthday.
Thank you, Mr. Kenyon. I appreciate it.
Northern Illinois Food Bank, Christopher Mortensen, Agency Relations Lead.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So I do have one update, and it's more of a solicitation. The food bank has historically had relationships with local farmers in Kane County for purchasing or receiving donated food or product. We would like to make a concentrated effort come the next few months in building relationships with local farmers to see if it were possible for them to consider us as a purchaser. So if you know of anybody, or if you want to make an announcement to local farmers, we would love to be on the receiving end and start scheduling conversations or meetings with those individuals so we can be part of their next harvest season. Now, as far as pay rate goes, typically we see a 50 cent on the pound. Feeding Illinois is, if I'm not mistaken, 60 cents on the pound. So we are trying to be more competitive as it relates to purchasing. There may be some wiggle room in that, or a deal where we can work out transportation costs. As far as donations go, there are grants available to farmers who are looking to donate product, or there's also opportunities for us to send out volunteers to do picking. We did that recently for corn picking. And that was a great time. That was down in Marengo. There are also different tax incentives that we can look at for donation of your harvest. So please do reach out to farmers in the area. I will also be reaching out to farmers to let them know that we are an option for them. And if they're looking to explore different venues to sell, we will have that conversation. That's my one update.
Any questions for the food bank?
Thank you, Mr.
Got
Chairman.
off real easy today.
Yeah, I know. I was expecting more on that one.
Pointed, Debbie Allen, that you didn't have a question, but we'll pass on that. Rising Lights, Jamie Valentina. And you're the founder and the.
Good morning. By way of introduction, Chris Toth and I, with our work with the Jobs Committee, have been working and networking to help our employees fill openings. One of the things we've been doing is starting to network with organizations that work with persons with disabilities and helping them with internships and job training and job placement. And there's been some exciting things happening, which we'll probably present more at some point at Jobs Committee. But one of the organizations I was made aware of is the Rising Lights Project, and was really pleased to see, as you'll see in their presentation, the focus of their work. So Jamie, thank you for joining us this morning, and I'll turn it over to Jamie. Thank you.
Is this on? Yes. You guys hear me? Okay, I'm just waiting for my presentation.
Is the mic on?
Can you guys hear me?
Oh,
Really close? Is that better? I put a little lipstick on it. Okay, I'm just going to wait for my presentation, but while we're waiting for it, I just want to give a little bit of my background. So my past life before Rising Lights Project, I was a special education educator in Barrington, Illinois. So I taught a variety of special education classes for really youth, all impacted with a variety of disabilities. So that's where my love comes with disability. I then led the special needs ministry at Chapel Street Church at the corner of Kesslinger and Peck. And in that kind of saw a big need in our community when it really came to two different areas. One being families that had adults with disability. In the age of 22, when an adult with disability turns 22, they what you call aged out. So that means that there are no more school services or therapy services. All of those kind of services that have been built into their everyday lives are now gone. And usually what happens is mom or dad has to now quit their job and be a one-on-one caretaker for their adult child with disability. So it really impacts our local area. And I thought, well, we can do something about that. So really is where Rising Lights Camp really comes from. So I'm going to try this PowerPoint. So I am the founder. We were founded in 2020. And again, like I said, just it was really founded out of the need of our local families and what they need to kind of move on with this next chapter of their lives. So we're here because just in Kane County, approximately 29,000 individuals are impacted with disability. A lot of times those families are well removed from their communities just because of the day-to-day struggle that they have raising a child with disability. And in our area, we really lack opportunities for adults with disability. There are a few other programs that we have in the Tri-City area, but there aren't many options for adults with 20 that are older. So typically most families are, either trying to arrange their own scheduling or really at home with, lack of things to do. So our mission is to create inclusive environments for individuals impacted by disability to learn, laugh, thrive, and engage with the Kane County area. So here are some big things that we're doing. We're educating, encouraging, and empowering. And this is to our community, to our adults with disability, children with disability, and really everybody. So there's really a lot to learn in this area, and we're really excited to be a part of it. So we have really two locations that we're doing this. One is in Geneva Commons, and with the generosity of Geneva Commons, we do have a storefront that's located right in between Jamba Juice and Claire's. That's where we do a lot of our winter programming. And right now, to our families that can't get out to the garden, that's where we meet on Wednesday mornings. And we have a middle school group that also meets there weekly. We also have a little storefront with some of the merchandise that we're making from our garden and, of course, our cool swag. Our other location is our Elburn Garden. We are located off of Town Hall Road. And this property is it's 10 acres of personal property that they have gifted us an acre of. So I'll show you a few more pictures, but we're on about a half acre of our garden, and then another space for our beehives and all of our bee fun. So this is our board, which I won't bore you with. We have a great group of volunteers. We're about 22 volunteers that come out every Friday to help us garden, along with some of our big events and our other programming for children and youth. So this is what we're doing weekly. And I know that you guys don't care about everything that Rising Lights is doing, more or less kind of centered around the garden, but these are some of the things that we're doing. For our group of adults, we meet every Wednesday and every Friday. On Friday, we call that garden group, and it's always held at our garden unless it's raining or snowing. And then monthly, these are just some of the things that we're doing. We're trying to service also middle school and high school students, along with moms who kind of need some extra support from other moms, and also providing our community with some just disability awareness education. We also are doing a lot of big events, usually around holidays. So if you're driving around the commons, we have had things like an inclusive trunk or treat party. We recently just had Hopping into Spring with partnership with Geneva Commons, and really providing an event where all families can come and really enjoy all the things that we like to enjoy, but that are really accessible and inclusive for all families. So our garden. My garden partner is Amy Mason. She's not able to be here today, but I kind of lead all things disability, and my partner Amy leads all things garden. So she is certified through the Resiliency Institute out of Naperville. And the method that we're using is permaculture, which revolves around the idea of earth care, people care, and fair share. So at our garden, we when we started last year, we have 12 different hugelcultures. So we build on mounds with, again, the idea of permaculture kind of being the center of what we're doing. We do have a few accessible beds so that our friends with wheelchairs can kind of really dive in and be a part of what we're doing. But this is kind of what we're doing. This is what is important to us. I'll let you read all that. I won't bore you, but this is kind of the things that we want to make sure that we're a part of what we're doing. Obviously, outside of just gardening, we want to make sure that they had a clear understanding of this is something that they could do at their own homes, but also tag along with, what it means to eat healthy, organic. And again, because health is such an issue that usually coincides with disability, really, educating all of them on the importance of that. So again, we are a full organic garden. We are not using any, all organic things. Trying to think what else I wanted to point out. So what we're growing besides just the normal stuff is purpose, value, and opportunities. So we're growing herbs, produce, flowers, bees. We then take all of that stuff, and this past year we created herbal salt, bath salt, raw honey, lip balm from the wax from our beehives, a hand lotion, which was really popular. And these are the things that we're then selling to our community, which has been really fun to kind of see them see it full cycle. We have a huge herb garden that has been really successful. And I don't know, herbs are a lot easier to keep alive than some of our tomato plants. So it's fun to kind of see the full action of everything that we're growing in full mode. So here are some pictures. Next week, we will be harvesting all of our honey. So this year we were able to do 7 hives. We have over 55 full frames of honey that our group will be in charge of. They won't be in the beehives, but they will be extracting it, jarring it, labeling it, and selling it. So here are some of our members that are involved. We recently just had the quarterly, the Northwestern Quarterly newspaper come out, or magazine, and take a few pictures. And they did a full article on gardening for good. So that's where some of these pictures are from. Here are some more of our more recent harvests. Here are some of the things that we've been able to produce from our harvest. So we did a great bath salt, herbal salt. We sold a lot of our seeds that we were able to collect after last year's garden season. Here's our bee adventures. So this is again from our last year's harvest, which we're getting ready for next week. So our impact is obviously educating our community about disability awareness and kind of the needs that we have just within our local Tri-City area. And here are kind of the numbers that we were looking at for last year for being, and in case I didn't say that, Rising Lights is a very brand new nonprofit. We're just about 1.5 years old. So Right now, we have gone from about starting with 11 adults to right now we're about at 32. So definitely a big need, and it's exciting to see the interest in all things garden with our adults. Kind of some of the impact that we're having with our bigger events. And here's a more recent parent testimonial on actually a mom who attends garden group with her daughter because she's deaf, but Callie, Susan, is deaf, but also struggles with some other challenges. So they really have had a really hard time finding a right spot for her. Callie is 32 years old. And again, figuring out what a day-to-day looks like for her has been a struggle. And they have found Rising Lights recently and have really fallen in love with it. So they are there every Friday, they attend Wednesdays, and it's really great to see that Callie's enjoying it as much as mom is, but that it's making a big impact in their life. So that is it. Well, we won't go into that, but thank you.
If you have needs, you could probably tell Mark Van Kerkhoff, like things that you'd like donated. And so Cheryl Stratman maybe could start a group in Elgin since she's a master gardener. We have a lot of places there. People need it. It's a wonderful thing.
Thank you.
You
Very
know,
impressed.
you know Michelle DeRae?
I don't.
She should. She should. She's okay, Mr. Brown.
Brown speaking. Are you aware or familiar with the Fox Valley Special Recreation?
I am.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
So we do a lot of work together.
Okay, good. And how about the Dunham Foundation?
I don't.
Okay, Google them up.
Okay.
Look for
Say it
them.
one more time. Dunham.
Dunham, DUNHAM, and I think Foundation.
Okay.
And it's a great source for applying for grants. And they really support, I think, things like what you're talking about.
Wonderful.
So,
Thank
You
you.
know what AID is, right?
I do.
Their annual meeting is the 29th at Fisherman's.
Yes. Okay.
Good food, always good food, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Jamie, one person that I think would be good to contact for a contribution or assistance is a person in my district. His name is Jerry Rich. He owns Rich Harvest Farms. He's very involved with adults that have some challenges. He is even thinking of building a center for them on his property, and he would be a great person to contact. So I would definitely contact Jerry Rich. I don't have his phone number available right now. However, Mark Van Kerkhoff, I'm sure does. Do you, Mark, or not? If not, I'll get it for you. Not a big deal.
Not Jerry's, but I have other routes.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I would say our big dream is down the line. Right now, we are just on personal property. So the access to a sink, a kitchen, air conditioning, all things is something that we are looking to in the future when we have a permanent home. So thank you for that recommendation.
Sure.
Thank you for the work you do.
Thank you.
Good.
Thanks for letting me share.
Sanchez,
I have
comment?
Michelle DeRae's phone number, but she gardens in Batavia and gives the food to the food bank.
Okay.
But she likes teaching people how to grow things.
Sanchez with comment?
All right, Mr. Sanchez.
Thanks, Mr. Chairman. I just want to thank Jamie for being here and presenting on this. I was not aware of this organization before, and just seeing the work you guys do is just so amazing on so many levels. Helping developmentally challenged people, building community, and something that's very near and dear to my heart also is permaculture and spreading that kind of knowledge. It's really the next generation of gardening and agriculture, in my opinion. Other terms are agroecology, but it's such a powerful, so really a systems thinking approach that doesn't just apply to gardening, applies to life. And it's just really cool to see that you guys are incorporating that into what you're doing. And I can't praise your work enough, and hope really good things for you. And all these connections that are being made here today, I hope they bear some fruit for you guys. Thanks for being here.
Thank you.
Are there any other, since there's no other questions, we'll move on to the development people. Mark Van Kerkhoff.
Right, good morning. Last month I had a memo about and described kind of an overview of text amendment changes that we were proposing as a staff to take what we've been learning through our Growing for Kane program and work with our grants and what organizations like you just heard this morning are doing, our local farmers are doing, and bringing our zoning ordinance text up to speed so that our own ordinances aren't a barrier to what our local growers and agritourism venues would like to do. So last month you gave us the direction to go ahead and draft some text amendments. Those are now in your packet this morning. They were also reviewed at Development Committee earlier this week. They are being shared by the Farm Bureau. This version of the text amendments does reflect some feedback we got from the Farm Bureau. We're greatly appreciative of that. We're happy to go through those in detail this morning. But before we do that, I did want to recognize Tony Ferrugia on our team. Before joining the county, he worked for the American Planning Association in Chicago and was exposed to researching and other ordinances and best practices and a lot of different things involving planning. He originally joined us as part of our zoning team, so became very familiar working with our zoning ordinance, zoning board, and the text that we have. And then more recently, we moved him over to work with our agriculture team with Matt and Janice. So he was the perfect fit to task with the job of researching what else was going on in the area and hearing from our team what we were learning from our local growers, and then converting that into the recommended changes to our ordinance. A couple of examples of how that will make some things easier. A couple of months ago, our zoning board of appeals approved a variance for Garlic Breath Farm to allow them to have a farm stand because our ordinance currently says you have to be in at least 5 acres, and they're not. So these changes make it possible for farmers like that on different acreages to be able to do what they're doing without that extra burden of going through a variance. So that's just one example. The other examples are agritourism venues, particularly as we've been in practice doing those as F2s, agricultural related businesses. The current text doesn't specifically define agritourism. And we're finding that there's different levels of agritourism. There's intensive, like Kuiper's Farms or Gobert's or Windy Acres. And then there are smaller types of venues, goat yoga and other things that are integrated into an overall operation. The other example is we currently have restrictions on products needing to be grown on site and limitations. And as you just saw on Jamie's list, which is reflective of a lot of our local growers, they're not only selling product, they are doing value added and selling product, and just the realities of marketing, you got to have some swag. So all those things are part of the successful farm stand and local growing operation. So with that, I'm happy to answer any specific questions. Most of them are dealing with new definitions and then some changes to the language.
I'd like to comment, you and your department are a real rarity, where government works with the people to make things better and actually goes out and asks them. How many people we've heard of where somebody built something, they forgot to ask the nurses how to build a hospital? But you come out and ask the farmers, what can we do to help? I'm praising you, and it's a privilege to live in Kane County. Janice, here's another one of our workers, always getting money for us. Janice? You have to get closer to the microphone for harder hearing farmers to hear.
Sure, I'm ready to talk about money.
Sure. So
Right after this.
Yeah, so for the zoning text, if you want, our next step, as you see in the schedule, is to send this out for public review and have a public hearing held by our zoning board, and then I'll be back before you in resolution form next month. So if I have your consensus, we'll go ahead and do that.
Sounds good.
Good. Thank you. Janice? Give us the money.
That's my first announcement. And I think my PowerPoint's going to come up. The first one on grant announcement and training. You know, what Mr. Kenyon just said about funding, and then what we've all talked about in terms of education, training, and communication. That's key in order to keep all of this work going. So my first announcement is another $10,000 award that Kane County has been granted. We applied to American Farmland Trust to participate in the upcoming year. This is a national program, and we will be given training about soil health, but more importantly, how to communicate the topic of soil health. You know, we have so many different kinds of farms and growing locations. We hear about those every week, and then we also have the need for the products. And we also have water quality issues that we're all working on. And all three of those things work together. So this grant is going to not only train us, but also train us in communication and how we communicate a lot of this. But again, we have the only agriculture committee in Illinois at the county level. So this is always our first launch, but we're very grateful to receive this award, and we'll be moving forward coming up. The other thing that's really important are all the training activities, and this time of year is one of the ones that we hear about a lot of announcements. So I'm going to go over these. Most of them are open to all farms and all locations in the county. However, because we have another grant in hand, that Donnelly grant that we've talked about, we're going to be able to announce to farmers in Kane County that if they're in our farmland protection program or applying for farmland protection, or they've had farm protection, we'll be able to give them a Visa gift card in order to attend any of these upcoming events. That will encourage participation, help offset the costs, because some of these you have to travel to. But also we'll be able to dig a little bit deeper, that's a bad pun, about what soil practices they're doing right now on farm. It'll be a good way to communicate and move forward, but they are for everyone. So this is the list of some of the ones I'm going to talk about briefly, but there are more. The Savannah Institute downstate in the Champaign area is going to have a whole grouping of events. Most of them are in person, but I think they do have one webinar in there, and they really focus in agroforestry, which is something that a lot of farms are interested in, combining their production, combining trees and into their production. And of course, you get better everything with that, better soil, as well as better increase in products. The Illinois Soybean Association, this one is focused on farmers that are growing soybeans. They have partnered with the Soil and Water Outcomes Fund. We've been in touch with them for the last couple of years. There's such a demand for soybeans, but there's also such a demand and need for us to have the best practices possible on our farms. They received a federal grant in partnership with USDA and some other partners. So they are able to bring their services to all of our farmers. You can see Kane County is highlighted there in red, as well as some of our neighbors. Enrollment for this year is soon. So we do want to get this announcement out as quick as possible. This will not be the only time they offer it, but this is the first year that they've expanded. And again, they're looking for and hope to get better water quality and better soil health, as well as more production of soybeans. Here are some more training options. Again, we'll be able to help farmers if they're in our farmland protection program or have been, attend any of these. You've got food safety training, organic transition through craft at the Angelic Organics. Craft is farmer to farmer taught. This is really important. You can see they've got soil health, farm fertility, and other production financing, et cetera, all farmer to farmer again. And same thing with the land connection there further down south. As you can see, some of the challenges that we have here in Northern Illinois is not as much training here as you have in other parts of the state. So we want to make some of this accessible for our farmers. Here's another one that's going to be really good, coming up fast though. And this one, what's really important about this one is, Jody talks to you often about tiling and how that all relates to our entire farm infrastructure. And we have a lot of tiled land here. This will show how you can improve your farm practices and best management practices in a tiled setting. It's not that you can't do conservation, and in a tiled setting you can. And so they're going to be showing this, but again, in Dwight. So it is a bit of a travel to go there, but I think it, a great opportunity for our farmers. Another one is the Organic Transition Learning Day. This is going to be hosted by one of our partners in McHenry County at the Conservancy. They're one of our land protection partners, but they're getting into this topic of what it takes to do land transition, not only the practice of it, but the financing, the market. There's a huge demand for organic products across the board. And so they're going to be focusing on that. Dave Campbell, who's one of our Kane County experts in organic transition, will be on the panel for this. I think this is a great way to kind of get an overview. And I think it's $5, so we can compensate those that attend. And finally, I've been talking to Dave about doing an organic transition day here in Kane County, and he's able to do that. He was just announced earlier in 2022 as the Farmer of the Year in the organic setting, and he has lots of expertise, and he is right here at Lily Lake Organics, has been doing this for many, many years. So he's going to talk to us about a general overview of organic transition in the broadest sense, and then do a field day on his farm. Sometime in the next couple months, we're going to try to get this done. He's in high demand, so we have to work with his schedule. It's not just not-for-profits and federal government that's incentivizing organic transition. There are market-based demands. I've been in touch with some of the companies, or let's put it this way, they've been in touch with me because they are looking for farmers that want to do the organic transition. And you can see, here's one example of Cargill, who reached out to me, and they're partnered, maybe previously you wouldn't have seen them partnered with Rodale, which is like the foundation of organic in our country in terms of education and processing, and kind of the leading experts there, as well as a poultry producer. Why? Because the people want more organic poultry. It's just as simple as that. But that means they need to, work backwards and find out how we can get the corn and soybean grown for the feed for these chickens. And so they have incentives, again, just like all the other companies, whether it's NRCS driven. So they'd like to talk to us again. So I'm not selecting one over the other. It's just that these are options for our farmers. And then finally, because we participate in RCPP, some of these practices are funded and available for priority selection for our farmers, all of our farmers. There's a tiny print there, but this includes the pollinator addition to farms. We've talked a lot about pollinators, but it's expensive to do this. So there's federal money to do that. There's conservation farming, conservation plan for the farm, cover crops, no-till, et cetera. All the things that help lead to better soil practices, cleaner water, pollinator, more crops, more diversity. So like all of these, we'll send a notice out to our farmers and farmland protection, and then help everyone be aware that these are available. And so that's about it on money right now, trying to bring more money back to Kane County farmers. Any questions on that before I move forward? Okay, I guess I'll go to the next presentation, which is a recap of a farm event. I was invited to attend the Illinois Soybean Association Gather Around the Table event. This is the second time they've offered this. It was an education event held in Kankakee County to broaden awareness about soybeans and the potential uses for those. It's a really wonderful event. I would love to duplicate this at a smaller version within Kane County, but this was statewide. And of course, we have our own Steve Pitstick as the chairman of the Illinois Soybean Association. He was just reelected. Not only is he a Kane County farmer, he was on our Farmland Protection Commission, has a protected farm, and certainly has been in many leadership roles within and has partnered with Farm Bureau and within the local area. And while Steve was not there because he's so busy, it was nice to represent Kane County and have everyone throughout the state understand who we are here in Kane County. Just to give you an idea, that was the 2019 estimate for the number of acres that were harvested for soybeans. And this association is very impressive in the work that they're doing for sustainability, better crop practices, and more diverse uses for soybeans. And that was part of the event. It was hosted at the OConnor Farm, and they've been doing quite a bit of sustainable practices over the years, and they used the farm to highlight that. And that included a meal, but also a tour of the farm with other experts to talk about biodiesel use and keeping that loop very small within their community in terms of growing product on the farm and then taking it to a nearby processing facility and then using that biodiesel on farm. So that was a good way to see that we can take care of that, meet our goals, have better soil. And also in other cases, when we looked at some of the food products, certainly we had representatives for all the meals using soy products, and it was very delicious and very interesting because I got to meet farmers from all over. The other thing that's kind of interesting is that the association now has a movable trailer, which I'm sure we could have eventually in Kane County if we wanted to use it for a learning event. Give you an idea, 1 acre of soybeans converts to 40,000 servings of tofu or 25,000 gallons of soy milk. It's amazing, really. And certainly they had tasting too. So educational opportunities, lots of tasting opportunities for soy products. It's delicious. I think that might be my last slide. The other shout out I have to give is to Matt Tansley, because right away we were recognized for our Growing for Kane newsletter. So it reaches all parts of the state. They said, "Oh, you're the one that does that great Growing for Kane newsletter." I said, "No, that's not me. That's Matt Tansley." So it's important that we communicate within Kane County, but also with our neighbors all the way throughout the state. Any questions? Okay.
Sanchez with the question.
Okay.
Okay, Mr. Sanchez.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Janice, about the Growing for Kane newsletter, I was thinking as you were presenting, do we have a list of all of the farmers in Kane County, and do they get a copy of that sent to them when it comes out?
We have a list of all of the food producing and specialty crop farms, as well as the not-for-profits. It does not include all the farms in Kane County, some 550 or whatever. Not all of them are on that list, but we are working. One of our goals is establishing a portal that can be used not only for our internal purposes for tracking and grouping farms. You know, we have Centennial and Sesquicentennial farms as one group. We have local food production and specialty crop farms, and we have our farmland protection farms, and we have other farms, all that fall into different groups geographically and by production type. Eventually, it would be nice to be able to have them all in, but we'd like to phase in first. And that could also be used as a portal for communication and education. So for example, when I talked about all these training events, it'd be nice to be able to do a quick announcement. Matt can tell you more about who's on his database, but it's not just Kane County. Do you want to talk more about that?
Yeah, the Growing for Kane newsletter email list is really, it does include a number of farmers as well as farmers outside of the county. But it also includes a number of nonprofit organizations, community groups, organizations, like Rising Lights Project, or subscribers. So it's really a mix. And, much of the information is geared towards farmers, but we do have information related to community health and food access. So it really, reaches a number of different interests. So we're always looking to expand our reach and our audience.
Excellent. Thank you for that. And it makes sense, your approach. It's something I was considering maybe for you to consider as well, to put into that newsletter links to these agriculture meetings, because I think every month there's a lot covered that would be of interest to farmers, specialty farmers and otherwise, and the general public who may sign up for this.
Yeah, we could definitely do that.
Okay. We want to move on. Is there any more questions? We're going to talk about a food hub.
Yeah, Mark Van Kerkhoff again. Last month, a question was raised, I think, by Board Member Sanchez about the status of the food hub. I don't have a full report for you this morning, but I did want to let you know that Matt Tansley and I made contact with the Dream Hub operators. We've gotten some information, updates on particularly what kind of transitions and things they're going through during the pandemic. Obviously, with our grants and activities and just the ever evolving landscape in terms of how our local food system works and how it's evolving, we're going to be getting together with them to get caught up, and I'll be making a more detailed report back on the results of that meeting with them the next month or two. So thank you.
Before we move on, we had the trivia question was given to me today by Mr. Steve Arnold. And the prize is that a half of the peaches? All my peaches?
It's just back to peach.
Bag of just peaches. And the question is, who released the double album, Eat a Peach? This is really tough.
Sanchez here.
Sanchez?
Is it the Allman Brothers Band?
Oh, my God. All right, you're a marvel. Well, the Peaches are here. I don't know if you're in the Caius room or up north.
No, I'm up north today, so maybe I can meet up with you.
Maybe the young lady will carry this up to the chairman's office. Good job. So thank you for that answer and the question. We want to move on to budget presentations. We always
Thank
look
you.
forward to these.
Mark Van Kerkhoff again. As you all know, this year, the budget presentations are being done at committee level as opposed to committee of the whole. So Development Department works with programs for a number of different committees. So I've given budget presentations for Economic Development Fund to Jobs Committee, the majority of our general fund activities this week at Development Committee. Two funds that primarily work with the Agriculture Committee are our Fund 430 Farmland Protection. As you know, the county board just approved this month the budget request for riverboat grants, and we're very grateful for the fulfillment of the request for another $500,000 for farmland protection. There's our current map. It's always great to see how it's growing year over year. We're still the only county in Illinois with a farmland protection program. The budget is more of a timeline than a budget because a lot of the budget reflects funds that are encumbered but not closed yet. Janice came up with this nice graphic just to kind of let you know where we're at, fiscal year 2022 and 23. And then we have the Farm Bill and then other upcoming RCPP applications in process for possible renewal, another 370 acres. That's what all this money is going for. Multi-year estimates for acquisition. You can see it's a substantial, almost $3 million. We do, out of this budget, pay for parts of staff salaries involved in farmland protection. So parts of Tony, Matt's, and all of Janice's comes out of this. And that's sort of a summary of that budget. As I mentioned at Development Committee, at the time of our submitting our budgets, we had not received a percentage salary increase to plug into our budget. So the current budgets don't reflect that, and we're looking forward to being able to add something into that for our staffs. The next budget fund is our Growing for Kane Fund, Fund 435. This fund is our depository of grant monies that come in. For Growing for Kane, it was sort of funded and launched with the Growing for Kane ordinance with our focus for capacity building, for training, for infrastructure, for market access. I asked Matt to put this together in terms of the funding over the years. Janice was out of town on vacation and she said, "Oh, you missed one. There was the one that kicked off the whole thing, $125,000 grant that we had from the Pew Charitable Trust for our health impact assessment." And then Janice just announced another $10,000 grant that we're able to use for capacity building. So over time, it's been over $1 million that has come through this fund, and look forward to that continuing, particularly with our latest one, the USDA Urban Ag Innovation Fund, which is almost $300,000 over 2 years. So we'll be continuing to be looking at our new projects, the Food Agricultural Accelerator, Sustainable Conservation Incentives, and are continuing our projects, Pollinators, our livestock market assessment. And maybe that's the last one. With that, again, that's kind of a placeholder fund. We're always looking for more opportunities to work with this. And then we also currently are continuing to work with the ARPA committee and Peter Phillips and the team working on how to use American Rescue Plan funds, how we can effectively use some of that to really supercharge some of these activities that we have grant funds for to really help our local growers. So with that, I'm happy to answer any questions.
No questions? Wow, another great job when you don't have questions. Do you have any more presentation at all? It suggests, young lady, that you should be friends with our Janice Hill. She probably could help you for looking for grants using the talent of Kane County. If there's nothing else to come before, oh no, we got to do the files. Was somebody?
I'd like to move to place reports on file.
Mr. Brown seconds. Is there any discussion? Okay.
Brown,
Yes.
Franz, Leonard,
Leonard, yes.
Sanchez,
Sanchez, yes.
Allen,
Allen, I.
Oh,
Kenyon.
yes. They're approved. Now we need a motion to adjourn.
Leonard moves that we adjourn.
And Brown seconds. All in favor, just say aye.